Welcome to the 580 Sports Talk Chiefs Instant Reaction post-game show. Brendan Dworzynski, Dan Lucero, Jake Laban here with you. Ooh, that was a tough one for the Kansas City Chiefs in their Super Bowl 57 rematch against the Philadelphia Eagles at home in the blustery, rainy, raw conditions. They couldn't catch the ball, and they ended up losing 21-17. And really, that's where you start, because the defense was really good. I don't think it was the best game of Mahomes' career by any means, but he had a couple throws at the end of the game that if you catch them, if you are Justin Watson, certainly Marquez Valdes-Scantling, certainly Travis Kelce, you've still got a chance to win. Maybe for sure you do win for at least one of those catches. This was absolutely brutal. We'll get to every single element of this loss for the Kansas City Chiefs here over the next 20 minutes or so. Jake, let's start with you, though. You told us on Monday on 580 Sports Talk, top of the 4 o'clock hour, we were doing our keys to the game. And number one for you was catch the ball. All you got to do, just get both hands on it, pull it in, hold on to the ball, actually make the catch. And I don't know what Pro Football Reference or PFF or Stats Inc. or wherever is going to give the official drop number 2 in this game, but too many times balls hit guys in the hands and fell incomplete. It was the MVS play at the end of the game. It was Watson on 4th and forever. The ball hit him in both hands. I know he got hit, but if the ball hits you in both hands, and you love to talk about how sticky the gloves are, you catch it. Kelce had a hard time catching the ball. It was all game long. They just couldn't do it. I don't know if it's concentration. I don't know if it's skill. I don't know what it is, but for the second time at home this year, the inability to catch the ball cost the Chiefs a win.
It's not just at home. It's on the road. It's at Trader Joe's. It's at a Costco. They can't catch it. There's no other way to put this. The defense did their job. The running game did their job. The offensive line did their job. You have to just catch the football. There's no other way to do it. You know, I see Troy Aikman at the end of the game go, now let's give the Eagles some credit here. Credit for what? That they let them open and that they dropped the ball? I counted 8 drops in this game. That's one thing that I count. I count drops. Justin Watson had 3 of them. Travis Kelce had 1 of them. Marquez Valdes-Scantling had 1 of them. Who I'm trying to think of another drop that they had. They just dropped the ball. And then when you look at those, I mean, how many times would those, plays have continued? And then you add in the turnovers. You add in the Kelce fumble, no ball security. He's holding the ball away from his body. And then Mahomes, he's got, some culpability in this as well. Throws an absolute floater into the end zone. That cost the Chiefs 6 points right there. You can't drop the football and have turnovers. That's the number one way that you don't score on offense in this day and age. I thought, relative to the game, they ran the ball well, and Andy Reid actually went for it, but Andy Reid's still Andy Reid. It's 4th and 4 on the 39-yard line of Philly. Go for it. Like, what? I know the Chiefs' offense is bad right now, and they can't catch it, but and I know you trust your defense, but you also have to trust your punt unit, which hadn't done great today. It's like there's no fire brimstone, there's no like anger and yelling. It's really simple. Can you catch the football, and can you not turn it over? The 3 games that they lost this year, turnovers. I mean, it's really simple and drop passes. This offense. The question is, do you think they can get it turned around? Do you think they can catch a ball? If you think the Chiefs can catch a ball, this offense will be fine. I mean, they would have scored 28 points if they just would catch a ball. Seems very rudimentary, but I don't know if they will.
I thought, Dan, some of the decision-making really had to come into play. Jake just mentioned that punt late in the game in the 4th quarter that netted them a grand total of 19 yards after the Chiefs couldn't down it inside the 5, which that I thought was a mistake. But it's smaller things like that, too. The final play, the 4th and 25, right after the intentional grounding and the drop by MVS, like, that's the kind of situation where if I'm the Chiefs, I'm going with the guy who has made the most plays for me in the passing game this year. And while Travis Kelce is still your best pass catcher, yes, the guy who's made the most plays is Rashee Rice. You know where he was on that final play on 4th and 25? He was on the bench. MVS was still out there. And like, I know you can't completely throw the guy under the bus immediately, and you're trying to keep him, head up and all of that. I understand there's elements to this, and there's coaching prowess at play, and various elements of the whole thing. But like, where is he? Where was he in other situations throughout the game? I thought some of the personnel decisions were strange. I thought some of the play calling was strange. Certainly that punt was a bad decision. It just felt like a game, and the Chiefs have had these over time where, like, Andy, what are you doing? Matt Nagy, what are you doing? Like, what is the goal, the play-to-play goal here in this game? But in a game like this, and I think you pointed this out on Twitter even, Dan, that like when not everybody is playing all that well, when Mahomes is off, when Kelsey is clearly off, those are already hard enough to overcome. But when you're making huge mistakes in every other facet too, I mean, it's almost impossible, especially against a team as good as Philadelphia. And I think we may have lost Dan there. Okay, well, we'll get back to Dan here if we can get him reconnected in a second. But my question
Dan was so upset that Andy Reid punted it on 4th and 4 at the, like, if that was at midfield, Brennan, I understand it. I do. It's midfield. It's the 39-yard line. Show a little bit of aggressiveness, but as we have said time and time again, if it ain't 4th and 1, he's not going to go for it. That's just what Andy Reid does. He doesn't go for it. I was actually happy they still ran the football. They ran the football so well in the first half. They kept running it. Credit to Andy Reid there. I thought maybe a tiger could change his stripes, but that was frustrating. The defense, they gave the offense 6 chances. 6 chances. All the offense had to do in this game was score 1 time in the second half, and at least it goes to overtime, or the Chiefs might win. They just needed 1, and they couldn't do it. Like, they couldn't do it. And that's where we're at in this world. And let's talk about Mahomes a little bit. I think the reason why Mahomes is off is because he's pressing, because he doesn't know what else he needs to do. I really do think he is pressing, because there were a couple throws that Mahomes normally makes, and these are, like, crazy tough throws. The one where he scrambled, sees Kelsey wide open in the middle of the field, threw it a little bit too high. The one throw to Watson, granted, Watson kind of probably ran the wrong route, but Watson wasn't going to catch that one if he just ran down the field. So there were some misses there, but I think that's because Mahomes, to the point where he has to say to himself, I don't know what else I need to do. You can tell he's frustrated. The offensive line overall, they were fine. They're going to get called for holding calls. Juwan Taylor and Donovan Smith are going to get called for holding. That's just how it works for this Chiefs team. That's expectations. I don't expect Donovan Smith to go a full game without a holding call. So Mahomes, I think, puts more pressure on himself, and maybe that's why he lollipopped the ball into the end zone. Maybe that's why he floated it instead of drilled it, because he's like, none of these dudes can catch a damn pass. Maybe I got to do it like this. So I don't know if I had to guess, that is what I would say. I would say Mahomes is trying to be too perfect, and sometimes if you try to be too perfect, you don't just let it rip. And that's I think where Mahomes' deal is in today's game against the Eagles.
Dan, I think we finally got you back from the nether realm. Just, I mean, overall thoughts on what was as disjointed as this offense has looked all year.
Your best guys have to be perfect to win games when your worst guys, for lack of a better way to put it, and feels like a fair way to put it tonight, aren't perfect and make mistakes. And Patrick Mahomes threw a terrible interception, and Travis Kelce fumbled in the red zone. And if those two plays don't happen, if your best players don't make uncharacteristic mistakes that take anywhere from 6 to 14 points off the board, not only is this a Chiefs win, this is a comfortable Chiefs win. And we're not talking about drops. We're talking about the defense, how great they were in the first half. We're talking about getting the ground game going. We're not talking about MVS dropping a touchdown pass. We got to talk about that because it's as bad a drop as that's as bad a play as there has been all season in the National Football League. A professional wide receiver, a college wide receiver, a high school wide receiver has to make that catch, and MVS didn't. All I'm saying is he better not ask anybody on Twitter to babysit his dogs anytime soon because those dogs, they might get let out. That's all I got to say to MVS. Be careful who you trust with your dogs after a performance like that. But I guess what I come back to, too, is the first scoring drive of the game for the Chiefs was so good. It was so good. It was a clinic. It was a masterclass. And you know what they did on that drive? They didn't just run the ball well. Their quick game was outstanding. The slant to Tony for the big third down pickup, the pass to Rashee Rice to get him one-on-one, make a guy miss, pick up a big chunk of yards, set you up. Good stuff around the goal line to get the touchdown to Justin Watson on 3rd and goal. Getting your yak guys in space and letting them create. That is the Chiefs passing game right now. The downfield passing game is not really there for the Chiefs. And there are 100 different reasons for that. Most of them have to do with the wide receivers not being good enough to create consistent separation. But the Chiefs passing offense, when they go quick, when they get it out quick, when they get the ball to those guys in the perimeter in space, that's when it's really good. Where did that go after that first scoring drive? Where did that go? Where is the vaunted Andy Reid screen game? How many years have we seen Andy Reid's teams just kill people in the screen game with passes to the running backs, passes to wide receivers, the screen game, the creativity in the screen game? The Chiefs have done it for years. Where has that gone? Do they run a screen pass tonight? Like a legitimate screen pass? Do they even throw to the wide receivers anymore? Is Jet McKinnon part of the game plan? I don't understand. They've got things that work for them in the passing game, and then they go away from them, and they think that Mahomes is going to sit back and guys are going to burst open, and he's just going to pick people apart. That's not how this team is built. That's not how this wide receiver group is built. They've got to understand and try and win with the receivers they've got rather than try and wish cast these receivers into guys that they're not, and that they proved again tonight that they're not.
And I think, too, and I saw someone just a moment ago tweet this, that I hope the Chiefs and Brett Veach go attack wide receiver in the draft this year the way they did with the offensive line following the debacle in Super Bowl 55. And yeah, I hope so. And this is a great year for wide receivers. I hope every Chiefs fan knows the name Roma Dunze and Jalen Polk and every other great receiver, Malik Neighbors, and every other great receiver in college football this year, because hopefully the Chiefs take a couple of them. But unfortunately, that doesn't really help right now. And there's not really a fix right now. I mean, the positives from this game, Sky Moore didn't completely destroy the entire game plan when he got in and had to take on a slightly bigger role. Awesome. Big step up for him to not have to do that. I thought Kadarius Toney was good. I thought everything he was asked to do, he did well. Reed is speaking right now, in fact, post-game at Arrowhead, and he just said that, hey, look, I think he did a good job with the increased workload, had a good week of practice. I would agree, and he was awesome. He's
your best punt returner.
Yeah, he was phenomenal in the punt return game, and kind of unbelievable that after not doing anything in that department for quite a while, he comes in and looks great in that regard. So there were positives. Pacheco did exactly what you would expect him to do, and frankly, what he always does. But you just can't overcome something that has been so devastating all year. And Jake, I just don't know that there's a fix for it, because you said it, and it's 100% true. If you think this team is going to be able to catch passes, redevelop that chemistry and that trust between receiver and quarterback, the offense is going to end up being just fine because the defense has been good. And it's not even really worth talking about the defense in this game because they did more than enough to win. I just don't know if you can fairly, if you're a super crazy optimist homer, sure, of course you can. But I just don't know where you can rationally say, oh, yeah, this team's just going to turn it on in that regard. Because I didn't even think it was a big problem for a lot of the season. But this is not the first time this has happened. This is not the first time the turnovers have happened. And I feel like we're probably deep enough into the season now where I don't know that it's going to change from this point going forward.
No, I thought this for the last couple of weeks, honestly, since the Bronco game is the first one that they won. This is really an easy evaluation. It's you just catch the ball. That's it. And I really do wish people knew how sticky an NFL glove is. When I say that if you drop passes as an NFL player, you got bad hands. Like, and Mahomes throws a catchable ball. I promise you. It's not like there are guys who throw catchable heat and throw like bowling balls. I promise you, he throws one of those catchable balls that, tight spiral get into your hands. And they get a brand new pair of gloves at game. Like, if you drop a pass, you just can't catch. And that's why, to me, the bigger issue is just no turnovers. Even if you don't turn it over, the Chiefs offense is fine. Like, that's the biggest fix to me is right now. Plus, every one of these wide receivers is thinking about dropping a pass. That is what every one of them is doing. It is now maybe more than a mental thing than it is an actual physical thing, because now when the ball comes to them, they're thinking, don't drop it, don't drop it. But if you don't turn it over, you're totally fine. I mean, I really do think the Chiefs score a touchdown if Kelsey doesn't fumble the ball. I mean, and the game's over. Like, at that point in time, I believe it would have been what? It was 7. It'd have been 24-14.
Yeah, I think the Eagles had scored, or no, had they not? No,
I don't remember off the top of my head. But if he doesn't fumble it, they have the ball at the 11-yard line, and they get a first down even, and they probably score a touchdown. I would have handed off Pacheco 3 times, and they probably score a touchdown. Game's over. Like, the turnovers are the easiest thing to fix. You just have ball security. Like, it's lack of awareness. It's lack of valuing the football, and it is fundamentals. Like that's the easy thing about the turnovers. I mean, same thing going back to the game against the Broncos. MBS, don't fumble the football. Like, put 2 hands on it if you have to. Like, go to extreme measures. So that's why this is. If you think that they cannot turn it over, then the offense will be fine. If you think they can catch the football, then this offense is going to be another really good offense because they can run it. I mean, they torched the Eagles defense there. If they catch the football, don't turn it over, they put up 30 points. But that's who they are right now. This is who they are. They are a team that drops passes and turns it over.
Dan, let's get some final thoughts and get out of here for the evening. And again, I mean, it wasn't like this game was entirely completely negative. The defense was great in this game. They had 5 sacks in the first half against a really good offensive line, against a good mobile quarterback who I thought showed off a little bit more mobility in this game. We had talked about that a little bit on the show on Monday. The defense was great. I thought there were a couple things offensively, encouraging that Pacheco got the ball a little bit more and it was working, encouraging that Kadarius Toney looked like the player we think he can be, like the Chiefs were telling us he can be. But I mean, what do you take away from a game like this going forward? What do you learn from this? Do you learn anything, or is it just they are what they are and you have to try to weather the storm as best as you can into January?
You have to, I think, accept who you are on offense and who you are and what you do best with the personnel that you have, instead of trying to fit these guys into roles in the passing game. You gotta use what makes them good. You got to use Kadarius Toney as a yak guy. You got to use Rashee Rice as your yak guy. You have to scheme guys open. You have to get the ball out quick, because the long developing passing plays are only getting flags or only getting sacks. You have to accept who you are in the passing game, and you have to commit to being what you're best at in the passing game and on offense right now, instead of trying to make these wide receivers into guys that they're not. At the end of the day, though, this is a 7-3 football team. They've got 2 losses to the 2 best teams in the NFC by a combined 5 points, with a critical drop on the final possession of the game that probably flips the result if you overturn it. You're talking about one play in both of those games. And then the other one was a Murphy's Law game against the Broncos. Like, I'm not going to say that the sky is falling. I'm not going to say that this team is unserious, or that they're going to win. They got a 2-game lead in the West. They've got tiebreakers over most of the major AFC contenders. They should finish no worse, honestly, than 12-5, and 13-4 is still extremely doable. I'm not worried long term, but they've got to decide who they are on offense and commit to being the best version of themselves. And they got to score the ball in the damn second half. They haven't scored a point in the second half since week 7. That is unfathomable for Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and all of these guys, Travis Kelce and Isaiah Pacheco and this offensive line, and you can't score in the second half? Not once? Not even a field goal? That is incredibly bad. And this should be, every season, I think, even the ones where the Chiefs have won championships, where they've gone to the Super Bowl, where they've won Super Bowls, there's been a come to Jesus moment every single season. There's been that moment where they've had to think, okay, who are we going to be? And this has to be it. I mean, there's no other way to put it. This one has to be it for the Chiefs.
Chiefs are going to have plenty of opportunities for meaningful wins the rest of the way. They can absolutely pick them up in the final 7 games. But if you want to be the best version of yourself, you need to find a way for your playmakers to actually make plays, because as one famous Brazilian supermodel once said, and I'm paraphrasing here, Patrick Mahomes can't catch and throw at the same time. He cannot catch all of his own passes. Someone's got to help him out. And that is everyone. That is not just the young receivers. That is everybody. Veteran receivers, young receivers, Travis Kelce as well. He's got to be better than he was today. Everybody on the offensive end has to be better than they were in this Monday night loss to the Eagles. We'll be breaking it all down and so much more coming up Tuesday on 580 Sports Talk from 2 until 6. Get you a full recap of the game. Where do the Chiefs go from here? And I feel like we'll probably talk a little bit more about MVS and that egregious drop at the end of the game as well. But until then, for Dan Lucero, for Jake LeBon, I'm Brendan Dworzinski. We will talk to you guys coming up Tuesday on 580 Sports Talk, on 580 WIBW, and right here on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube. Talk to you guys then.